Awami League President and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina formally launches her party's election campaign, performing ziyarat of the mazars of Hazrat Shah Jalal radiyallahu anhu and Hazrat Shah Buran radiyallahu anhu in Sylhet. BNP cannot foil the election with arson and terrorism, says Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina at Awami League's first electoral meeting in Sylhet and urges public support for country's continued progress.
আগামী নির্বাচন আমরা যারা নৌকা মার্কায় প্রার্থী দিয়েছি তাদেরকে নৌকা মার্কায় ভোট দিয়ে আপনাদের সেবা করার সুযোগ দেবেন আপনাদের কাছে সেটাই আমার আহ্বান
How BNP will wage non-cooperation movement, asked Ubaidul Qadir while speaking at Sylhet public meeting. Festive election campaign grips country as candidates approach voters from door to door. Another 100 Palestinians killed by fresh Israeli strikes in Gaza as UN Security Council goes to vote on draft ceasefire resolution today. And New Zealand confirmed the ODI series, beating Bangladesh by 7 wickets in the second ODI in Nelson. Shomo judged man of the match. Assalamu alaikum viewers, I'm Tanzila Manar Sultan welcoming you all to news at 10. You have just heard the headlines, now moving on to news in details.
আপনি চাকরি করেন আপনার মায়না দেয় ওই গরিব কৃষক আপনার মায়না দেয় ওই গরিব শ্রমিক আপনার সংসার চলে ওই টাকায় আমি গাড়ি চলি ওই টাকায় ওদের সম্মান করে কথা বলেন ওদের ইজ্জত করে কথা বলেন ওরাই মালিক
Awami League President and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has urged the people to vote for her party's election symbol boat to build smart Bangladesh as she kicked off formal election campaign of Awami League for the 12th national parliamentary election slated for January 7. The Premier made the call while addressing a mammoth rally at Sylhet Government Aliyah Madrasa ground organized by local Awami League. The Awami League President urged all to cast their votes for her party candidates to make them victorious just to serve the common people. Sheikh Hasina launched the election campaign from Sylhet 1 constituency following the tradition and offering ziyarat at the mazar of Hazrat Shah Jalal rahmatullahi and Hazrat Shah Buran rahmatullahi. Bangabandhu's younger daughter and the Premier's younger sister, Sheikh Rehana, accompanied her during the ziyarat, and she was also present on the days built on the occasion. The Awami League President alleged that looters, killers, corrupts and embezzlers of orphans' money are out there to foil the election by burning people alive. She urged the countrymen to resist arson terrorism and burning people alive. She said that BNP Jamaat clique wanted to snatch away lives of people. They will not let people to cast their votes and thwart the polls.
সমস্ত জায়গায় বোমাবাজি গুল আর অগ্নিসন্ত্রাস এবং আগুন দিয়ে পুড়ে মানুষ মারা এর বিরুদ্ধে সকলকে প্রতিরোধ গড়ে তুলতে হবে মানুষের জীবন কেড়ে নেবে মানুষকে ভোট দিতে দেবে না নির্বাচন বন্ধ করবে এত সাহস কোথা থেকে পায় ওই লন্ডনে বসে একটা কুলাঙ্গার হুকুম দেয় আর কতগুলি লোক নিয়ে এখানে আগুন নিয়ে খেলে আগুন নিয়ে খেলতে গেলে আগুনেই হাত পড়ে এটা তাদের মনে রাখা উচিত তারা মনে করেছে দুটো আগুন দিলেই সরকার পড়ে যাবে অত সহজ না অত ভাত দুধ দিয়ে খায় না এটাই আমি বলতে চাই যারা লুটেরা খুনি হত্যাকারী দুর্নীতিবাজ এতিমের অর্থ আত্মসাৎকারী তারাই এদেশের মানুষকে আগুন দিয়ে পোড়ায় নির্বাচন বানচাল করতে চায় আগামী নির্বাচন নৌকা মার্কা এই নৌকা নূহ নবীর নৌকা এই নৌকায় কিন্তু মানব জাতিকে রক্ষা করেছিলেন আল্লাহ রাব্বুল আলামিন এই নৌকায় ভোট দিয়ে এদেশের মানুষ স্বাধীনতা পেয়েছে আবার এই নৌকা যখন সরকারে এসেছে নৌকা মার্কায় ভোট পেয়ে যখন আমরা সরকারে এসেছি বাংলাদেশের মানুষের আর্থসামাজিক উন্নতি হয়েছে আজকে তাই আপনাদের কাছে আমার আহ্বান আগামী নির্বাচন আমরা যারা নৌকা মার্কায় প্রার্থী দিয়েছি তাদেরকে নৌকা মার্কায় ভোট দিয়ে আপনাদের সেবা করার সুযোগ দেবেন আপনাদের কাছে, সেটাই আমার আহ্বান। আপনারা দেবেন, বলেন, হাত তুলে ওয়াদা করেন।
Meanwhile, addressing the public rally at Sylhet, Awami League General Secretary and Road Transport and Bridges Minister Obaidul Qadir raised question on how would BNP wage a non-cooperation movement. He compared BNP's announcement of non-cooperation movement with absurd things like monkey sings music and rock floats on water. Obaidul Qadir said BNP is more brutal than Netanyahu and the Israeli forces. Their anti-Bangladesh conspiracy must be resisted together, he added.
বিএনপি লাল কার্ড পাইয়া গেছে, ফাইনালে বিএনপি নাই। এখন বলে অসহযোগ আন্দোলন করবে, বানরে সঙ্গীত গায়, শিলা জলে ভাসে, ঢাল নাই, তলোয়ার নাই, নিধিরাম শ্রদ্ধা। তাদের বাংলাদেশ বিরোধী ষড়যন্ত্র রুখতে হবে। এরা নিষ্ঠুর, এরা নেতানিয়াহু ইসরায়েলি বাহিনীর নিষ্ঠুর। মা তার বাচ্চাকে বুকে নিয়ে আগুনে কয়লা হয়ে গেছে। কে করেছে? বিএনপি। এরা মানুষের নামে দানব। এদেরকে পরাজিত করতে হবে। এদের চিহ্ন বাংলাদেশে রাখা যাবে না। এরা থাকলে বাংলাদেশ, এই বাংলাদেশ থাকবে না। স্বতন্ত্র ইলেকশন করবে, নৌকার ইলেকশন করবে। কারো সাথে কারো ঝগড়া ঝাঁটির কোনো প্রয়োজন নেই। এই নির্বাচনকে প্রতিদ্বন্দ্বিতামূলক করার জন্য, সুষ্ঠু নির্বাচনের জন্য আমাদের নেত্রী স্বতন্ত্রদেরও প্রার্থী হতে বলেছেন। এতে কারো কিছু হারাবার নাই। নৌকার নিজের শক্তি আছে, ভয় পান কাকে?
Awami League President and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina offered ziyarat at the mazar of Hazrat Shah Jalal Rahmatullah Alayhi and Hazrat Shah Buran Rahmatullah Alayhi in Sylhet today. Sheikh Hasina, who arrived there this morning to kick off election campaign of her party for the 12th national polls, first went to the mazar of Hazrat Shah Jalal Rahmatullah Alayhi in the divisional city. She spent there for some time reciting from the Holy Quran and offering Fatiha and Munajat. Later, the Premier visited Mazar of Hazrat Shah Buran Rahmatullah Alayhi. She also recited from the Holy Quran and offered Fatiha and Munajat there. Prime Minister's younger sister, Sheikh Rehana, accompanied her in both the places. The Prime Minister talked to reporters after performing her ziyarat at the Mazar of Hazrat Shah Jalal Rahmatullah Alayhi. Awami League President said BNP Jamaat alliance unleashed the reign of terror and militant activities on the mass people, aiming to foil the 12th national election, which is scheduled to be held on January 7 in 2024. She said casting vote is the constitutional right of the people. People will cast their votes. No one has the right to resist them and kill people for casting votes, she added.
যারা নির্বাচন করবে না, কিন্তু আগুন দিয়ে মানুষ পুড়িয়ে মারা, আগুন দিয়ে সরকারি সম্পত্তি মালিক, এটা তো জনগণের সম্পত্তি। রেল লাইন ফিস প্লেট তুলে ফেলে অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট করে মানুষ হত্যা করা, এটা তো সম্পূর্ণ সন্ত্রাসী কাজ, জঙ্গিবাদী কাজ। আর সেই সন্ত্রাসী জঙ্গিবাদী কাজ করে যাচ্ছে এই বিএনপি জামাত জোট মিলে। কারণ বিএনপির তো এই একটাই, আমরা 2013-ও দেখেছি, 14-তেও দেখেছি, মানুষ পুড়িয়ে মারা। এটা কি, কোন ধরনের আন্দোলন? গতকালকে যে ঘটনাটা ঘটলো, তারা তো হরতাল দিয়েছিল, এদেশের মানুষ তো হরতাল মানেও নাই, তাদের কোনো সাড়াই দেয়নি। এটা তাদের বোঝা উচিত, এদেশের মানুষ নির্বাচন চায়, ভোট দিতে চায়। আমরা ভোটের জন্য আমরা সম্পূর্ণ উন্মুক্ত করে দিয়েছে আমাদের দলকেও, যে ঠিক আছে সবাই দাঁড়াবে, সবাই কাজ করবে, জনগণ যাকে বেছে নেবে সেটাই। কিন্তু সেখানে আমরা কি দেখলাম? রেলে আগুন দিল, একটা মা সন্তানকে নিয়ে সে আগুনে পুরো মারা গেল। মা সন্তানকে কিন্তু বুকের মধ্যে চেপে রেখে দিয়েছে। মানে এতে কষ্টের আর কিছু হতে পারে না, কষ্টের দৃশ্য আর হতে পারে না। কি করে একটা মানুষ এভাবে করতে পারে? তারা নির্বাচন বানচাল করতে চায়, মানুষকে ভোট দিতে দেবে না, মানুষ কিন্তু ভোটের পক্ষে, মানুষ নির্বাচনের পক্ষে, মানুষ তো তাদের হরতালে সাড়া দিচ্ছে না, মানুষ বরং ভোটের মিছিলে যোগ দিচ্ছে। তাহলে এরপরে আবার কেন এই সন্ত্রাসী কর্মকাণ্ড? মানুষকে মেরে একটা ভীতি সৃষ্টি করে তারা নির্বাচন বানচাল করতে, তাদের অভিজ্ঞতা নাই, 13তে তো তারা পারেনি, 14তে পারেনি, তাহলে আবার কেন এই আগুন দিয়ে পোড়ানো? আর বেশ ভালোই খেলা চলছে, একজন লন্ডন বসে হুকুম দেয় আর এখানে তার কিছু চলার আছে আগুন দেয়। বাংলাদেশটাকে এইভাবে খেলা, এই দুর্বৃত্তি পড়ানো তো আমরা বাংলাদেশের মানুষও কেউ মেনে নেবে না। ভোট জনগণের অধিকার, সাংবিধানিক অধিকার, সেই ভোট জনগণ দেবে, সে ভোট দিতে জনগণ আসবে, তাদের বাধা দেওয়া, তাদের খুন করা, তাদের করা, এটার অধিকার কারো নাই এবং এটা বাংলাদেশে কেউ মানবেও না। আর এটা যারা করবে তারা একদিন, আমি মনে করি যে এদেশের মানুষ তাদেরকে উৎখাত করবে। যারা এই অগ্নি সন্ত্রাসে জড়িত এবং যারা এই যে হত্যা করেছে, কারো ক্ষমা নাই, তাদের বিরুদ্ধে কঠোর ব্যবস্থা হবে এবং তাদের বিরুদ্ধে ব্যবস্থা আমরা নেবই।
The Chief Election Commissioner CEC, Qazi Habibul Awal, categorically said the forthcoming 12th Parliament elections will be competitive, free and fair, and there is no doubt about it. The CEC came up with the observation while sharing views with the candidates of all 6 constituencies of the district at Rajshahi Circuit House today. It was also addressed by Election Commissioner Rashida Sultana, EC Secretary Jahangir Alam, Commissioner of Rajshahi Division Dr. Dewan Mohammad, Humayun Kabir, Deputy Inspector General of Police of Rajshahi Range, Mohammad Anisur Rahman, and Commissioner of Rajshahi Metropolitan Police, Biplab Bijoy Talukdar. Qazi Habibul Awal said they have given messages to the candidates to help in holding free, fair and acceptable elections.
হবে এবং ভোটাররা আসবেন এই বিশ্বাস প্রত্যয় আমাদের আছে। যারা প্রার্থী তাদের সাথে আমাদের মত বিনিময় হয়েছে, তারা অত্যন্ত আন্তরিক, কিছু কিছু সমস্যার কথা বলেছেন, আমরা শুনেছি, কমিশন শুনেছে, স্থানীয় প্রশাসন শুনেছে। সেই সমস্যাগুলো যদি সত্যিকার হয়ে থাকে কিভাবে নিরসন করা যায় সেই গাইডলাইন আমরা দিয়েছি।
Later, the CEC held another view exchange meeting with the law enforcing agencies at Shilpakala Academy Auditorium in Rajshahi. The campaign centering the 12th Jatiya Sangshad election is getting momentum day by day across the country. Candidates of different political parties as well as independents are rushing to people seeking votes. In Rajshahi, electoral campaign started since the allocation of symbols. Candidates were seen busy throughout the day with electioneering and seeking votes. Similar atmosphere prevails in Chalokati. Candidates of political parties as well as independents are passing busy time. Banners and festoons relating to polls have turned Naga into an area gripped with high election fever. Candidates are making efforts to draw attention of voters. In Kushtia, candidates are passing busy time since allocation of symbols. In Gaibandha, electoral canvassing is getting momentum day by day. Contenders are rushing to voters to win their heart. In Narayanganj, electoral campaign is being heated up in all 5 constituencies. Contenders are strengthening public relations to convince voters with commitments. In Noakhali, all the candidates are carrying out campaign for the 3rd day in all 6 constituencies. They're holding different programs to draw attention of voters. In Nilfamari, Awami League Jatiya Party, Trinamool BNP, Kollan Party and Bangladesh Congress as well as independent contenders are passing busy time to win the hearts of voters in all 4 constituencies. The death of a mother and her child on Netrokona Mohanganj Express train during the hartal called by the BNP Jamaat has stoked a sad environment in their village home in Netrokona. Relatives of the deceased have demanded exemplary punishment to the culprits. The arson violence on the train left 4 persons dead. Nadira Akhtar Poppy was coming to Dhaka with her 3-year son on Monday night from Netrokona. The train came under arson violence on Tuesday morning near Tejgaon station in Dhaka, killing 4 people including Nadira Akhtar Poppy and her child. Chairman of the National Board of Revenue NBR Abu Hena Muhammad Rahmatul Muneem has said that simple procedures are being followed in tax collection to enrich the state coffer further. He said this while presiding over a function marking the distribution of tax award and tax honor award to the best taxpayers for the fiscal year 2023 held at the Bangabandhu International Conference Centre in the capital today. Among others, Finance Secretary Dr. Mohammad Khairuzaman Mojumdar were present at the function. Some 141 individuals and organizations were awarded national tax credits and tax honor awards for being the best taxpayers in the fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Among them, 76 were individuals, 54 were companies, and 11 in other categories. Alongside the NBO Chairman, Finance Secretary Dr. Mohammad Khairuzaman Mojumdar handed over the tax credits and tax honor award to the best taxpayer individuals and representatives of the companies and organizations. Now international news. Israeli attacks across Gaza have killed more than 100 Palestinians and wounded hundreds of others. Gaza's health ministry says reports say at least 46 people killed and dozens wounded in Israeli attacks on the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. Besides, a pre-dawn Israeli strike on Tuesday leveled a home in Rafah, killing 27 people, including a 17-day-old baby. Israeli forces also raided al-Aqsa hospital in northern Gaza and arrested, stripped, bound and interrogated people in the hospital. Hamas broke through Israel's heavily guarded perimeter on 7th of October, killing 1,200 people and taking 240 hostages, some of whom were released during a brief truce. Nearly 20,000 people are now reported to have been killed and more than 52,000 injured in Gaza since the start of the war. The leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, arrived in Cairo for talks on a fresh ceasefire in Gaza. Israeli President Isaac Herzog has said his country is ready for another humanitarian pause, but Hamas says it will not negotiate until Israel's military operation continues. Qatar, backed by Egypt and the US, helped broker a week-long truce and hostage prisoner swap in November. Meanwhile, efforts to get a United Nations Security Council ceasefire motion are set to resume after Tuesday's vote was delayed. The US says it is working with other members on the text, but it has vetoed previous resolutions. Colorado's Supreme Court has ruled that Donald Trump cannot run for president next year in the state, citing a constitutional insurrection clause. The court ruled 4-3 that Mr. Trump was not an eligible candidate because he had engaged in an insurrection over the U.S. Capitol riot nearly 3 years ago. The Trump campaign called the decision anti-democratic and vowed to appeal. It is the first ever use of Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment to disqualify a presidential candidate. Similar attempts to kick Mr. Trump off the ballot in New Hampshire, Minnesota and Michigan have failed. Tuesday's decision, which has been placed on hold until next month, does not apply to states other than Colorado. The ruling only applies to the state's primary election on 5th of March, when Republican voters will choose their preferred candidate for president. It could also affect the general election in Colorado next November. The Democratic and Republican leaders of the U.S. Senate said Tuesday that Washington will not be able to approve new aid for Ukraine before year's end as the two sides continue to seek a compromise. In a joint statement, Democrat Chuck Schumer and Republican Mitch McConnell said, as negotiators work through remaining issues, it is our hope that their efforts will allow the Senate to take swift action early in the new year. Meanwhile, Ukraine said 9 people, including 4 children, were wounded by Russian shelling in the southern city of Kherson, as drones also targeted the capital Kiev and the second-largest city, Kharkiv. Several Iranian-made Shahed drones were also shot down by Ukrainian air defenses as they headed towards Kiev, according to the head of the capital's military administration, Serhiy Popko. Moscow has stepped up its nightly attacks on Ukrainian cities in recent weeks at a time when the West's willingness to support the country seems to be waning. Rescue efforts for survivors of an earthquake that killed at least 131 in China's northwest are coming to an end. Authorities on Wednesday said they were wrapping up operations and would now focus on treating the injured and helping those who lost their homes. 16 people remain missing in neighboring Qinghai province to the south of Gansu. Local officials and in Jishishan County, the worst hit in Gansu province, said more than 5,000 buildings in the area had been damaged. Thousands of workers have been operating in sub-zero temperatures. Temperatures hit minus 13 degrees Celsius on Tuesday, Chinese media reported. The 6.2 magnitude quake hit Gansu province Monday night, injuring nearly 1,000 in the mountainous region. Now some international news in brief. Russian President Vladimir Putin called on Wednesday for a severe response to foreign agents who aim to destabilize Russia by aiding Ukraine. The French Parliament has passed by a wide margin an immigration bill backed by President Emmanuel Macron after a rebellion within his party over the toughened-up legislation that had secured the endorsement of the far right. Malaysia banned on Wednesday Israeli-flagged cargo ships from docking at its ports in response to Israel's actions in Gaza, which it said ignores basic humanitarian principles. Polling stations opened early in the morning today in a high-stakes Democratic Republic of Congo general election in which President Felix Tshisekedi is seeking a new term against a fragmented opposition. At least 10 people were killed in floods after intense rainfall in southern India, local media reported today, weeks after a cyclone triggered intense flooding in the same areas. News on weather. Met Office in its weather forecast till 6 p.m. tomorrow said weather may remain nearly dry with a temporary partly cloudy sky over the country. Moderate to dense fog may occur over the river basins of the country during late night to morning. Night and day temperature may remain nearly unchanged over the country, said the Met Office. Now news on sports. Bangladesh lost to New Zealand by 7 wickets in the second ODI of the 3-match series in Nelson. As a result, New Zealand confirmed the series by 2-0 with 1 match remaining. Chasing a target of 292 to win, New Zealand scored 296 runs for 3 wickets in 46 overs and 2 balls. For the host, Henry Nicol scored 95 and Will Young scored 89 runs. Earlier, New Zealand won the toss and invited Bangladesh to bat first. Bangladesh were all out for 291 runs in 49 overs and 5 balls. Shumbo Sharkar scored the 3rd century of one-day career after 5 years interval. Shumbo reached the 3-digit milestone of 116 balls with 13 fours. Before being dismissed, Shumbo Sharkar scored 169 runs of 151 balls with 22 fours and 2 sixes. This is the second highest individual score in ODI history in the Tigers' cricket history. Liton Das's innings of 176 runs against Zimbabwe is at number 1. Mushfiqur Rahim scored 45 runs today. Shumbo Sharkar was adjudged man of the match. To end the bulletin headlines once again. Awami League President and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina formally launches her party's election campaign, performing ziyarat of the mazars of Hazrat Shah Jalal Rahmatullahi and Hazrat Shah Puran Rahmatullahi in Sylhet. BNP cannot fall the election with arson and terrorism, says Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina at Awami League's first electoral meeting in Sylhet and urges public support for country's continued progress. How BNP will wage non-cooperation movements, asked Ubaidul Qadir while speaking at Sylhet public meeting. Festive election campaign grips country as candidates approach voters from door to door. Another 100 Palestinians killed by fresh Israeli strikes in Gaza as UN Security Council goes to vote on draft ceasefire resolution today. And New Zealand confirmed the ODI series, beating Bangladesh by 7 wickets in the second ODI in Nelson. Shummo adjudged man of the match. And that's all from the newsroom for the moment. Thank you for staying with us. And we invite you all to watch our 11:30 p.m. Bangla News. Keep your homestead neat and clean and stay safe from Dengue. Khuda Hafiz.